Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the 16mm f2.8 lens from Fujifilm. Now this lens is relatively new, it only came out in 2019, which is still only last year. There's a lot of reviews and a lot of talk about the 16mm 1.4, which is a very revered lens that Fujifilm released a few years back. That is considerably heftier in weight because of the f1.4 glass inside it, whereas this one is a bit more suitable for if you want to travel light, and you would certainly not need a rucksack to carry this around in. You could literally put this inside your pocket, which makes for a great portable lens. This is a lens that you can use for landscape photography, architectural work. You could just about get away with architectural work with this. You can also use it for videography, which I've recently been having a go at. And most importantly as well, you can use it for portraiture. So if you're a portrait photographer that shoots a lot on location, so outdoor settings, even indoors with that sort of tight spaces, this wide angle lens will get you that extra bit behind you, behind the subject. If you shoot with models, you'll get that background of the environment. So it's useful for basically doing the opposite to what a 56mm, if you shoot Fuji, or an 85mm or a 135mm lens would do, because they compress the image quite a lot and they give it that flattened look. Whereas this is maybe a bit more creative with portrait photography because it allows you to get more into your shot and more into the scene. The size is a big selling point to landscape photographers because it's easily portable. In terms of the weight of the actual lens, the lens comes in at 155 grams. So it's got some nice weight to it, but it's not heavy. I wouldn't call it a heavy lens. The build quality is what you'd expect from Fujifilm. It's a metal made and metal mount on the lens as well, as you can see there. It also takes 49mm filter thread sizes, which is very relatively cheap and available online. So if you was looking to get a ND filter or a polarizer, then you can pick them up at a relatively good price. I've got a polarizer filter, but I haven't actually had the chance to use it on this yet. The weather's today is clear blue skies, so you wouldn't really need a polarizer unless you wanted to make the sky pop and make the clouds pop and that. So far I have used this for landscape photography. I've been out and I've been happy with the results you get at sort of between f5 and f8. I've got a shot at f5 which is nice and sharp and detailed. And obviously if you do shoot Fuji, you know how good these lenses and cameras are for colours straight out of the files. You can pick one of these lenses up for £279 on MBP, that's where I got my lens for, or alternatively, if you are looking to get this lens brand new, Fujifilm have been running a cashback offer ever since Black Friday, and I believe they've extended it, so you can actually get the cashback offer right now. So it would make a good Christmas present. Obviously, it's a fantastic value you're getting because it's one of their most recent lenses that came out in 2019. So you can get it for a very good price at the moment. One of the best things about these XF lenses is the aperture ring, which you can see there. It's got a nice amount of resistance to it, and if you are someone who shoots landscapes out in the field and you work with the changing lighting situations, it's a very practical tool that you can change very quickly if you do need to cater for the exposure. And it's a nice feature really, because you wouldn't always want to rely on a command button and set something up in your camera, and you would not want to be going through the menu to change things as well. So it's just so quick to change if you do need to change something quickly with the different changing of lighting. Videography as well, it might be another thing. Obviously it would be quite a harsh change from an aperture ring and that, but obviously you can factor that into the editing process in post-processing as well. The lens is also weather resistant, which is great for if you get caught short in the elements, if you're a landscape shooter, or even if you shoot portraiture outside. It's just good to have that peace of mind, especially with the metal mount. Obviously the lens does come with a lens cap, which is plastic, but it doesn't feel like it could break easily. But the rest of the lens is very solidly built and feels brilliant in the hand, not too weighty. The lens doesn't have image stabilization, but if you were to pair it with the XH1, if you own an XH1, or the newly released XS10, then it would be very handy for the slower shutter speeds that you might shoot at, or if you're starting to do long exposure photography or even videography for camera shake. With the XS10, I believe you get up to 6 stops of image stabilization, so it would work really well. But even without it, this lens works fine because of the focal length, it being 24mm in full frame equivalent. You don't always need the image stabilization. So, who is this lens for and how can you get the most out of it? I wouldn't really say that this is for anyone in particular. I've been shooting landscapes with it and I've got on with it really well, but also recently I've been mounting it onto my gimbal and getting shots of my 7-month-old son in an indoor environment. And because of its width, it's very handy for getting shots in different rooms. It's also very good for keeping up with his fast-paced action, which the autofocus does incredibly well. It also is fitted with a stepping motor, which helps with the autofocus. That was my short review of the Fujifilm XF 16mm f2.8 lens. I'd love to hear some of your comments regarding your setup and how you've found this lens, what you've used this lens for, its strength, its weaknesses, what body do you use? Obviously, if you're lucky enough to have one of the newer models that have the IBIS built in, then does it make a big difference? Do you use it a hell of a lot for videography, or is it mainly a stills lens for you? So yeah, I'd love a comment down below. Thank you for watching.